The anime begins by introducing us to a young man named Nakajima Nanao, who half a year ago moved to a deserted island. This island turns out to be an exclusive academy for teenagers with supernatural abilities. In this context, Nanao is approached by another boy named Maguo, gifted with the power of fire, who starts to bother Nanao because of his supposed lack of abilities. At this point, a third boy named Seiya, with the ability to control ice, defends Nanao, pointing out that he too is special, just like all the others with abilities. Later, it is revealed that these young men were brought to the island to receive special training in order to confront beings that have been threatening humanity for more than 50 years, beings that have been hiding among them. The teacher introduces a new student named Onodra Kyoya, who refuses to reveal his power, generating speculation about his possible great power. Then, another new student, Higari Nana, arrives and becomes the protagonist. When she reveals that her ability is to read minds, the classmates are astonished. Nana sits next to Nanao and strikes up a conversation with him, during which Nana asks him if he is being bullied by others. Nana reveals that she knows this information thanks to her ability to read minds. At this point, Maguo again teases Nanao about his lack of powers, and Nanao, in his defense, tells Maguo that he is a bully and is just trying to impress Nana so he can ask her out. Later, Nana praises Nanao for his knowledge of humanity's enemies and proposes friendship. She then asks him about the reason behind his nickname self-proclaimed leader. Before Nanao can answer, the teacher reprimands them for making too much noise. At that point, Nana suggests that, since they are in the process of electing the class president, she will nominate Nanao. At this, Maguo comments that the leader should be the strongest person, prompting Kyoya to propose a showdown to decide this. The proposal of a showdown excites everyone except Nanao, who does not share the enthusiasm of the others. On the other hand, Nanao reflects on his past, recalling how he found it difficult to make friends. His father taught him that he should strive to be the best and lead, which led him to proclaim himself a leader when he arrived at the academy. However, this decision earned him ridicule from his peers. In a subsequent encounter, Nana wishes him luck for the next day when a showdown will take place. Nanao reveals that she does not plan to participate, as she feels she would lose to the others. Nana, determined to learn more about him, asks Nanao to show her around the island. During their meal, Nana explains how his powers work and shares his excitement at having Nanao as a friend, as his abilities have always kept her away from friendship. They continue exploring the island and head to a ravine to enjoy the sunset. At this point, Nana is assured by Nanao that he has an important talent, evidenced by his selection to be on the island. However, Nanao downplays the importance of her ability and mentions the need for caution, as only those capable of defeating humanity's enemies are on the island. A sudden gust of wind blows Nana over the edge of the ravine, but Nanao saves her just in time. Worried, he hugs her, causing Nana to blush. Later, Nanao accompanies Nanao home, again urging him to run for leader. However, Nanao becomes upset and asks Nanao to leave him alone. In his room, Nanao reflects on his attitude towards Nana, and at that moment, she appears to return the watch he had left in the cafeteria. The next day, the young men prepare for combat and agree to refrain from using their powers. However, once the confrontation begins, they quickly disregard their earlier decision and employ their abilities. During the exchange of attacks, Seiya manages to freeze Maguo's feet, securing victory. This provokes the wrath of Maguo, who, visibly upset, unleashes a gigantic fireball aimed at the students. Faced with the threat, Nanao intervenes to protect his classmates and creates a powerful shield that repels the attack. At this point, it is revealed that Nanao's power is to neutralize the abilities of others. This impressive ability leaves everyone in awe, leading them to elect him as their leader. Later, Nanao and Nana head to the cliff, where she congratulates him on becoming their leader. Grateful, Nanao attributes his success to Nana's help, who praises his extraordinary ability to neutralize powers. In an emotional moment, Nana takes Nanao's hands and experiences intense joy as he realizes that, for the first time, he does not hear the voices in his head. Moved by Nanao's happiness, Nanao shares her joy. Suddenly, Nana pulls Nanao's hands and pushes him off the cliff. Nanao clings as best he can to a rope, at which point she reveals that she does not actually possess the power to read minds, but that she guessed information by deduction. She mentions details such as the rejection Nanao would suffer for finishing reading a book in class, and the presence of a cat, deduced from a scratch on her neck. He explains that the reason behind proposing Nanao as leader was to discover his true power, with the intention of using that information against him. In shock, Nano asks her if she is a threat to humanity. Nana responds by stating that the true enemies are those with supernatural abilities, and reveals her mission to wipe them out. Specifically, she mentions that Nano is destined to become their commander. This revelation leads to Nano slipping off the rope, falling off the cliff and losing his life. In this way, the story is told of how, some years ago, humanity's first enemy emerged. This enemy, far from being a monstrous creature or an extraterrestrial being, turned out to be an ordinary human who awakened supernatural powers. His arrival resulted in the destruction of an entire city and the loss of miles of lives. Subsequently, children with abilities began to be born all over the world. The situation became more complicated when those with powers began to act without restraint, as the common population could not oppose them, resulting in further loss of life. Faced with this crisis, the elites decided to hire individuals with abilities to fight the rebels. But this solution proved temporary as the rebels also rebelled. After 5 years of conflict, humanity finally prevailed. Eventually, society began to accept people with abilities, sending them to academies to keep them under control, and providing them with daily training under the justification of fighting humanity's enemies. It is also revealed that Nana was sent by the elites with the mission to assassinate all the inhabitants of the island, considered the true enemies of humanity. She is warned to act with extreme caution, as any discovery could provoke a rebellion by the students, endangering humanity. Maguo then approaches Nana and asks her if she has any information on Nanao's location, expressing his surprise at finding out how strong she is. Nana replies that she has not seen Nanao all day. At that moment, she observes some girls crossing a log over a lake, and Seiya appears to freeze the entire expanse of water. Nana reflects on the magnitude of Seiya's power, and begins to question the arrogant attitude of people with abilities, considering the need to put an end to their existence. Later, Nana asks Seiya about the extent of his freezing ability, asking him about the possibility of freezing objects. Seiya states that he is capable. In a mocking tone, Nana asks him if he could freeze her, and Seiya jokingly suggests that he could easily do so. However, Nana, skilled in analyzing people, senses the lie and questions Seiya as to why he did not freeze Maguo during their confrontation. Seiya's response is that it would have made the fight too boring. Nana confirms her suspicions that Seiya is lying about his ability to freeze people. During the conversation, Seiya mentions that everyone assumes Nanao is sick, which would explain his absence from class. Nana, worried that suspicions are growing, decides that she must eliminate everyone before they discover the truth. Meanwhile, Maguo finds himself in a fight with some individuals and is mysteriously beaten by one of his classmates named Yaohei, who apparently has the power to stop time. Seiya informs Nana that Yaohei is possibly the most powerful of them all. At this revelation, Nana decides to investigate more about him. Later, during lunch, Nana approaches Yaohei and shares a meal with him. In the middle of the conversation, while trying to eat some pickles, Nana accidentally spills a glass of water on Yaohei. Surprisingly, the glass returns to its normal state, leading Nana to discover that Yaohei's true power is not to stop time, but rather to go back in time and modify past events. Upon revealing this to Yaohei, he is surprised that she has discovered his ability, as he is the first person to have done so. This revelation worries Nana, as it could mean that Yaohei has the ability to witness the crimes she has committed if he travels back in time. At that moment, Kyoya suddenly appears and asks Yaohei if he could use his power to investigate Nanao's disappearance. Nana, puzzled, comments that Nanao is supposed to be simply ill. Kyoya informs her that he hasn't contacted the school about her illness and hasn't come to her room either, despite the fact that they share the same hallway. Kyoya begins to question Nana about her relationship with Nanao, asking her what they did the day before. Nana made up a story, claiming that after school she went to congratulate Nanao and everything went smoothly. Kyoya doesn't believe her, however, and as she strokes her pigtails, Nana senses that she is about to be found out. In an attempt to deflect suspicion, Nana suggests that Nanao may have been attacked by an enemy of humanity, as she has heard that they disguise themselves as humans. She questions Kyoya, pointing out his suspicious attitudes and his regretful interest in Nanao. Kyoya, uncomfortable, withdraws, claiming he was just trying to socialize. Nanao explains to Yaohei that she considers Kyoya an enemy of humanity. They decide to investigate the disappearance of their companion. Afterwards, they head to Nanao's house so that Yaohei can use his skills to check what happened. Yaohei, by traveling back in time, fails to gain any useful information. He only confirms that Nanao did not return home. However, the act of time travel leaves Yaohei noticeably exhausted. He comments to Nana that the use of his power is exhausting and that he has trained hard to handle it properly. This detail leads Nana to realize that his ability has limitations, otherwise he would have discovered it by now, needing to find an effective way to eliminate Yaohei before he can go back in time and discover her. Nana asks him how far back in time he can go. Yaohei explains that he can travel up to a maximum of 1 day, but after 12 hours, he ends up so exhausted that he might vomit. Afterwards, Yaohei returns to the past and, upon returning, asks Nana if she and Nanao visited the cliff together, to which Nana confirms. They decide to head to the site to investigate. On the way, Yaohei uses his power again. Nana explains that after visiting the cliff, she and Nanao went to the beach and then parted ways. Yaohei reveals to her that if someone from the past sees him, he returns to the present. Because of Nana's power to read minds, it is likely that she has seen him a couple of times in the past, which worries Nana as she fears he will soon discover her. Finally, they reach the cliff, and Yaohei travels back in time once more. He watches as Nana and Nanao hold hands, but Nana, noticing his presence, pulls him back. Nana confesses that she remembers that moment and claims that just before she pushed Nanao, she made sure he left. Yaohei apologizes for doubting her and informs her that he is too exhausted to continue using his powers, suggesting that he continue the next day. Subsequently, Nanao makes her appearance while holding shovels. Simultaneously, Nana walks towards Yaohei's room with obvious fear, asking him to follow her. Hearing her request, Yaohei hurries to follow her. As they run, Nana confesses that she will reveal the truth to him, as she had not done so previously due to uncertainty over whether she could trust him. Upon reaching a section of the forest, Nana informs Yaohei that it was the place where the enemy of humanity attacked Nanao and devoured him. However, this claim turns out to be a complete lie, designed to persuade Yaohei to travel back in time. After tearful pleading, Yaohei agrees. Nana reveals her scheme, which is to place Yaohei exactly where the lake frozen by Seiya was 24 hours earlier. Nana covered the ice with earth, and Yaohei did not notice. Thus, when Yaohei returns to the past, the lake has not yet been frozen, and due to his inability to swim and the fatigue of the journey, he would drown. Nana's plan succeeds and Yaohei loses his life. In another instance, Kyoya conducts an investigation on the cliff when he notices a flash at the bottom. Intrigued by what he sees, he decides to jump into the void. Later, everyone arrives at the academy drenched by the storm. At that moment, questions arise about Nanao's absence and the unusual absence from class of Yaohei, who is never absent. Hearing this, Nana reflects that it is crucial to hurry to eliminate the other students before they discover the presence of an assassin, as it will complicate their movements. At that moment, Seiya corners Nana against the wall and demands a demonstration of her powers. Nana responds by suggesting that, if he really loves his girlfriend, who is sitting in front of them, he should not push her against the wall like that. Seiya is shocked and wonders how Nana knew they were dating. Nana claims that she could read his mind. At that moment, Kyoya appears and suggests that perhaps what Nana did was not mind reading, but rather deduction. This is based on the observation that it has been raining all day, and only the right side of Seiya's shoulder is wet, while the girl's left side is wet. Kyoya jokes that this is just a theory. Later, during the break, Nana invites Kyoya to share lunch with her, but he turns her down. Despite his refusal, Nana decides to follow him discreetly to get more information about him. During their stealthy observation, they arrive at a shed where Nana discovers that Kyoya is feeding a kitten. Afterwards, Nana approaches him again, expressing her desire to be friends, and this time, Kyoya accepts the offer, inviting her to his room. In Kyoya's room, it is revealed that he is passionate about video games and has a less serious nature than he appears. He explains that he is easily obsessed, which is why he is investigating Nanao's disappearance. He also reveals that he has a younger sister who arrived on the island before him and is also missing. Kyoya is there to get answers about his sister. While playing video games, they discover that they share the same favorite manga. When Nana is about to leave, Kyoya shows her Nanao's watch that he found. Then, he asks her to accompany him to the cliff. There, he asks Nana about her activities on the afternoon of the 13th, the day Nanao disappeared. Nana replies that he was with Nanao during that day and asks why he focuses on the afternoon. Kyoya explains that during his walks on the island, he found the cliff and noticed the broken safety rope. Under the rope, he discovered Nanao's watch with the time marked 6 p.m. although Nana claims to know nothing, and that she parted ways with Nanao early. Kyoya begins to theorize, suggesting possibilities such as a possible or that they left the watch behind on purpose. Nana suggests the possibility of an attack by the enemies of humanity, but Kyoya dismisses the idea, as according to reports, These enemies are terrible beasts that would brutally and would have no need to leave traces like the watch. Despite Nana's suspicions, Kyoya does not distrust her, as he sees no reason for her to kill Nanao. However, he warns her to be cautious, as there is a killer on the loose on the island. Later, the elites inform Nana that she must be cautious, as some of the students' abilities are extraordinarily powerful. They reveal that in order to eliminate certain individuals, they have even had to resort to using nuclear weapons. But the most effective strategy is to send in undercover agents like her. After recalling this information, Nana wonders what Kyoya's weakness might be, as so far, everyone seems to have one. The next day, Nana and Kyoya go to the teacher to ask him about the disappearances. However, the teacher is surprised, as he had no knowledge of the situation. Kyoya suggests informing Nanao's parents, but the teacher reminds them that they are completely cut off from the outside world until graduation. As they deliberate over the situation, they decide not to reveal anything to the others to avoid chaos and reflect on the vulnerability they experience at the academy. In the middle of the conversation, Nana reminds Kyoya that Nanao used to feed a cat, and expresses hope that she is well, as she probably hasn't eaten since her disappearance. After mentioning this, she leaves, and Kyoya reflects that Nana may seem shallow, but he suspects that might just be a facade. Later, we see Kyoya heading off to feed the cat and questioning the veracity of what they have been told about the island. He doubts the real existence of humanity's enemies. When he arrives at the shed, Nana, in hiding, is waiting for him. During the moment, Kyoya prepares to feed the cat, but notices her absence and realizes that the window is closed, even though he had left it open earlier. In this situation, he decides to heat up the milk and leave it for the cat. When she turns on the cooker, the place explodes. It turns out that it was all a plan by Nana, who reminded Kyoya about the cat to lure him into the shed. She discovered Kyoya's weakness when she realized he had no sense of smell, deducing this by finding rubbish and expired fruit in his room. When Kyoya arrived at the shed, he didn't notice that the gas was turned on. Nana approaches to confirm if he managed to, but surprisingly, Kyoya crawls out of the fire. When asked what he is doing there, Nana is terrified, not understanding how he could have survived. We discover that Kyoya's power is immortality, and he questions Nana, suggesting that he should have known that with his ability to read minds. He also confirms to her that his weakness is his lack of smell. At this, Nana is perplexed, and Kyoya tells her that he hopes they can still be friends. Later, Kyoya informs his companions that someone tried to assassinate him and warns that everyone should be cautious, suggesting that Nanao and Yaohei may have been victims of the same attempt. Despite his warnings, his companions doubt the veracity of Kyoya's claims. They then propose that they elect a new leader for the class. Meanwhile, some classmates mention that Mikairu has received a love letter and begin to tease her about it. Mikairu notices a wound on Nana's thigh and, concerned, asks her what happened. Nana tells her that she accidentally tripped the day before. Surprisingly, Mikairu begins to lick the wound on Nana's thigh, revealing that her power is to heal wounds with saliva, although the use of her ability affects her life expectancy. Later, Nana decides that Mikairu will be her next victim, while Kyoya continues to watch her closely. Later, Nana meets Mikairu in the garden and reveals to her that the letter was just a prank by the girls. Seeing Mikairu's sadness, Nana invites her to lunch and Kyoya continues to watch Nana's every move. In the cafeteria, the girls enjoy a nice moment together, but in reality, this is part of Nana's plan to test Mikairu's healing ability and determine how he can kill her without her recovering. Mikairu can heal skin, muscles, and even organs, in addition to having the ability to heal herself. With this information, Nana concludes that the only way to kill Mikairu is to stab her in the back, preventing her from licking and healing herself. After leaving her room, Nana meets Kyoya, who mentions that he has been following her under the pretext of protecting her from possible enemy attacks. Although this is merely an excuse to keep an eye on her, Nana tells Kyoya that she will retire to bed and put on some music to sleep. Hearing this, Kyoya suspects it might be a lie, so he decides to investigate. He discovers Nana sneaking out of the window and sees her running towards the other students' dormitories, so he decides to follow her. Nana arrives at Mikairu's room, bursts in slamming the door and warns her about a supposed enemy behind her as she prepares to stab her. At that moment, Kyoya hears Mikairu's screams and upon reaching her room, finds Nana with a stab wound in her back. Mikairu explains to Kyoya that an enemy of humanity attacked Nana, relating that she could hear with her power that the enemy was planning to. He explains that he ran to save Mikairu and received the stab in the back in the process. However, this is just a lie by Nana to divert Kyoya's suspicions. She knew that Mikairu could heal her wound, so she stabbed herself to appear to be another victim. The next day, Kyoya begins to interrogate Nana, expressing his bewilderment as to why she did not ask for his help to save Mikairu, as he is invulnerable, and she would be less at risk. Nana tries to justify herself, arguing that she was scared and acted on impulse. However, Kyoya is suspicious of her explanation and finds the story very suspicious, as the pieces do not fit together perfectly. At that moment, the rest of the classmates arrive, concerned about the attack on Nana. She begins to cry, mentioning that, despite her power, she could not hear Nanao's cries for help at the time. Mikairu proposes the idea of naming Nana as the new leader, arguing that she saved her, and everyone accepts the proposal. At this point, it is revealed that this was also Nana's plan. Later, Nana gives Mikairu a notebook and asks him to ask the others about their abilities, writing them down in the notebook. This is part of Nana's strategy to learn their weaknesses and how to defeat them. Kyoya suddenly appears and expresses his regret to Nana for doubting her, and is glad that she is well. He then mentions that the object used to stab her must have been sharp, like a screwdriver or a stake. Nana responds by suggesting that it could have been claws or a spear, to which Kyoya warns her to be more vigilant before retreating. Afterwards, Nana gathers some things and reflects on the need to change his method of murder to make it less conspicuous. Later, Kyoya playing video games and wonders if Nana might have faked the attack to gain sympathy and become the leader. However, having no evidence, Kyoya realizes that it would be difficult to expose her. Nana then decides to use poison needles as a more discreet method of eliminating the others. While heading to the dormitories, Nana is stopped by Tsunakichi, who reveals that Mikairu asked him about his power and claims to be able to see the future. Tsunakichi shows a picture of Nana strangling him with a rope, demanding an explanation. Surprised, Nana tells him that she has no idea what it means. Tsunakichi takes her to the cafeteria and tells her about his experience, explaining that the photos show events that will inevitably happen because she is trying to. He shows a picture where Nana gets noodles dropped on her head. She tries to change the fate by canceling the order, but the waitress slips and spills the noodles on her, confirming Tsunakichi's predictions. Tsunakichi then presents a photo of Nana pushing Nanao, confronting her about Nanao's murder and leaving her in shock. Tsunakichi then tells Nana that he has had these visions since the day she arrived on the island. At this, Nana claims to know nothing about it and rejects the idea of being capable of such heinous actions. However, Tsunakichi uses the photos as a tool of extortion, forcing her to agree to be his girlfriend in order to avoid the consequences of the predictions. Later, Nana finds herself giving Tsunakichi a massage, who mentions that he can no longer avoid his eventual murder, and that he will take advantage of his last moments before it happens. Nana, for her part, questions how she can end Tsunakichi's life, as every attempt she makes seems to be predetermined in her future. In an attempt to get away, Tsunakichi forces her to stay. When he finally falls asleep, Nana discovers that his ability works through dreams, as sleeping with the camera in hand reveals photographs of future events. This power does not give her control over what she sees, as only snapshots of specific moments are shown. At that moment, the camera shows a photo that surprises Nana, who decides to hide it. Later, Nana takes the camera and goes to the shed, the place where she is expected to assassinate Tsunakichi. She questions whether destroying the camera could alter the future, but realizes that this is not the source of the power, but the boy himself. Later in the morning, Tsunakichi wakes up and forces Nana to clean his room. During the task, he notices that Nana has taken one of his photos, as there are always 5 per dream, and this time there are only 4. As he checks Nana's skirt, he discovers the photo showing her tied up and murdered. Nana assures him that she cannot be her, as she too would die. This fills Nana with fear, and she tells Tsunakichi that she does not want to die. He replies that to trust her, he will wait for her in the shed at night. If nothing happens after 10 o'clock, he will trust her words. While Tsunakichi goes to take a shower, Nana adjusts her watch to set the time back by 10 minutes. Later that night in the shed, Nana awaits Tsunakichi's arrival, and in the process, drops the poison needles. Suddenly, Tsunakichi appears, and she decides to attack with the rope ahead of time, taking the boy by surprise. However, Tsunakichi had figured out Nana's plan and reset his watch, hitting her and knocking her to the ground. As Tsunakichi is about to touch it, Nana reaches for his hands and poisons him. Shocked, Tsunakichi wonders how this was possible, and she reveals that she pricked him with the hands. He argues that it is impossible, as the photo shows his own death and fate cannot change. He Here we discover that the night before, Nana took the photo to lure him into her trap, showing him what the real premonition was once Tsunakichi dies. When Kyoya and Mikairu enter the shed, they observe the scene and Kyoya comments to Nana that they heard Tsunakichi making strange comments about her. Mikairu looked for him since Nana was not present, and when they searched Tsunakichi's room, they found the picture of her tied up, which led them to look for her. Nana explains that Tsunakichi was blackmailing her with some compromising photos, with the intention of preventing Kyoya from reviewing the other images. In relating this, Nana manages to persuade them that he took her to the shed and that they were attacked by an enemy of humanity, although Kyoya is not entirely convinced. After the explanation, Nana leaves the place, deciding to retrieve the other pictures and maintain his deception. Later, Nana goes to Tsunakichi's room in search of the remaining pictures. She feels lucky that Kyoya hasn't found the remaining pictures, as they could have slowed her down. Suddenly, Kyoya appears behind her and asks her what she is doing. Nana explains that she just came for her belongings, as she spent the night there. Kyoya mentions that he doesn't understand something about Tsunakichi's death, as he used to claim that his predictions were always accurate and couldn't be changed. If that were the case, he questions why Nana is not dead according to the photo. Nana suggests that perhaps fate can be changed. Kyoya points out that it is also possible that the photo is a fake, as it is not very believable. In the picture, Nana has the rope wrapped twice, which is difficult to achieve in a real hanging. He suspects that Nana might have taken the picture herself, but has no evidence to prove it, so it is only a theory. Nana asks Kyoya about Mikairu, and he informs her that she is still with Tsunakichi's body. Before leaving to look for Mikairu, Nana notices that he is missing a photo, which means he could be in Tsunakichi's body. She decides to head to the shed in search of that picture. Meanwhile, Mikairu continues her attempts to revive Tsunakichi without success. While checking the body, he discovers the picture in which Nana is pushing Nanao. At that moment, Nana arrives and asks him what he has found. After that, Nana reflects on the situation, thinking that if she tries to hide the photo, Nana might kill her on the spot. However, innocently, Mikairu simply asks her if she knows what the photo means and tells her that she found it on Tsunakichi's clothes. Upon hearing this, Nana persuades Mikairu by stating that Tsunakichi's power was not to see the future, but that he could see his dreams through the photos. She explains that he created that image because he was jealous of the closeness between her and Nanao. Mikairu, hearing the explanation, believes her, and Nanao asks her to keep the photo a secret. She then asks what he was trying to do with Tsunakichi's body, and Mikairu replies that he was trying to bring him back to life, but to no avail. In the other hand, Tsunakichi's funeral takes place. During the event, Nana asks Mikairu not to use her revival ability too much, because if she tries to bring someone back and she dies in the process, Mikairu will be devastated. Mikairu accepts Nana's request. This request is because if Mikairu succeeds in reviving someone that Nana has, she could reveal the truth. At this point, Kyoya enters and shares with everyone his skepticism about the idea that Tsunakichi was killed by an enemy of humanity. He demands an autopsy to determine the true cause of death. Nana stops him and takes him outside, where she convinces him that she, with her powers, heard the enemy and believes that there is a serial killer on the island, who also tried to kill him. Kyoya is confused as to why they would try to kill him first, Tsunakichi being a more dangerous enemy as he can see the future. Nana suggests that they both undergo an autopsy. However, as they are about to perform it, Tsunakichi rises from the attack, apparently alive. In reality, one of the students, Shinji, uses his necromancy ability to control the dead. Shinji claims that with his power he can discover what caused Tsunakichi's death, as he can see his memories. At this, Nana, trying to hide the truth, mentions that she could hear Tsunakichi's soul suffering with his power. The situation provokes the indignation of the others, especially Shinji's friend Yuka, who defends Shinji, arguing that he was only trying to help. The next day, during class, Nana asks Yuka about Shinji. Yuka replies that Shinji is often absent from class and that he doesn't have many friends, mainly because people are afraid of him due to his ability as a necromancer. Nana comments that she also felt scared when Shinji controlled Tsunakichi's body. Yuka assures Nana that, although he likes to draw attention to himself, Shinji is not a dangerous person. Later, in the forest, Nana secretly observes Shinji and Yuka, who seem to be on a date. At that moment, Kyoya appears, questioning her about her presence there. Nana replies that she heard their voices as she passed by and decided to investigate. Immediately, Shinji notices that they are being spied on. They leave the place, and Kyoya comments that they shouldn't be kissing in that place at that time. Shinji clarifies that they are just old friends, leaves, and Yuka reveals that 5 years ago she rescued Shinji from a fire. Since that time, she discovered that her power is super strength, and despite her shyness and scary appearance, she wants everyone to know that she is a good person. The next day, Nana pretends to be seriously ill, and Mikairu takes her to the infirmary. However, this is all part of a plan to escape discreetly through the window and reach Shinji's room undetected. Once there, she takes advantage of the fact that he is asleep to inject him with the poison. Afterwards, she rushes back to the infirmary, anticipating the possibility that Kyoya is looking for her. Suddenly, she hears that the kitten is trapped in a sewer. Meanwhile, Kyoya, Mikairu, and Yuka choose to visit Nana. When they arrive, they find her outside the infirmary. Nana takes them to where the trapped kitten is and explains that she used her powers to hear the cat and decided to come out to help it. She then asks Yuka to use her super strength to rescue the cat, but Yuka informs them that her cat allergy prevents her from doing so. Finally, with some food, they manage to rescue the kitty. In the other hand, Nana is seen, with her poison ready to finish Yuka off. Suddenly, however, she is brutally hit in the head by Shinji. Eventually, Nana realizes that Yuka had mentioned about her power, and that Shinji was actually the one who always possessed the super strength ability. She discovers that the real necromancer is Yuka, who controls Shinji's corpse. Yuka begins to reveal that on the day she claimed to have rescued Shinji, they were having a date at a shopping mall, and that, during a fire, Shinji suffocated to while trying to save other people. Unable to accept her loss and feeling that she could not live without him, Yuka began to control him with her power. It is also revealed, through Shinji's memories, that Nana attempted to murder Shinji, and that she is responsible for the deaths of the students. With this information, Yuka threatens Nana to reveal that she is the real. Nana admits that she is the killer, but argues that at least she allows those who are to rest in peace. After uttering this threat, Nana warns Yuka that she plans to tell the others what she is doing with Shinji, assuring them that everyone will believe her, since she is the leader. She then offers Yuka a deal. If she keeps her secret, Nana will use her powers to reveal to her what she wants most, to know what Shinji's soul thinks of her. Yuka, deeply in love with Shinji, accepts the deal and sets her free. This was Nana's goal, and once freed, she quickly flees the scene. As she escapes, Nana ponders how she can eliminate Yuka, Shinji being her biggest obstacle. She begins to devise strategies to confront her and remembers that Yuka had Tsunakichi's necklace under her bed. Nana thinks that, in order for Yuka to control the dead, she must use some object that the person was wearing while alive. Later, Nana finds Yuka and, upon questioning her about the necklace, confirms Nana's theory. In a surprise attempt, Nana tries to take the necklace from her, but is unsuccessful and escapes again. She decides that she must come up with a plan to strip Yuka of the necklace, as without it, Yuka will not be able to control Shinji. At that moment, Nana hears a noise and dismisses it as Yuka, as it would be difficult for her to move in the dark. Without warning, zombies appear and try to catch Nana, created by Yuka. Yuka reveals to Nana that there are many corpses buried on the island, some of teachers and some of students with powers, which she was able to find with the help of one of the zombies who had night vision. Nana thinks that these zombies might be the product of other elite assassins, as she had previously sent more like her. After escaping the zombies, Nana arrives at an abandoned cabin. She tries to hide there, but discovers that the door can only be locked from the outside. Faced with this situation, Nana has an idea and starts to modify the door. However, Yuka finds her and decides to hide inside the hut. Yuka had already placed zombies inside, and they attack Nana. Surprisingly, dawn breaks and the zombies collapse, as Yuka's power only works during the night. Faced with this limitation, Yuka locks Nana in the hut with the intention of returning for her during the night. Later, at school, Kyoya asks Mikairu about Nana's absence, and Mikairu tells him that she was talking until late, but then he doesn't know anything more about her. Meanwhile, Nana manages to break free from the hut, as she had actually modified the door to trick Yuka. When Yuka returns for her during the night, he discovers that Nana is not there. Although Yuka orders the zombies to search for her throughout the night, they are unsuccessful. At dawn, Yuka decides to return home, but on the way he is attacked by Nana. Unable to use Shinji to defend herself, Yuka is easily knocked down. At that moment, Nana finds a piece of paper in Yuka's back trousers pocket. Nana reveals that she discovered that the real object with which she controls Shinji is that piece of paper. When he previously attacked her, she noticed that instead of protecting the necklace, Yuka put his hand to protect his back pocket, leading Nana to discover that the real object was there. Nana demands Yuka to follow her, threatening to destroy the paper if she does not obey. Hearing this, Yuka follows Nana to the cliff. There, Yuka asks her how she managed to escape from the hut, and Nana explains that she unscrewed the lock on the door and taped it shut, allowing her to get out easily when Yuka left. She then hid in the forest and waited for daybreak, restoring the door to its original state. This was all part of her plan to better understand Yuka's powers so she could take away the object she was controlling Shinji with. At that moment, Nana threatens to throw the paper fragment controlling Shinji off the cliff. In desperation, Yuka begs her not to do so, as she would lose Shinji forever. She also promises not to tell anyone that Nana is the killer and to do as she asks. Nana takes advantage of the situation and demands that he return her needles. Despite Yuka's pleas, Nana throws the paper over the cliff. Yuka begins to cry, saying that she only wanted to protect Shinji. Nana asks her about her relationship with him, and after hearing her side, she points out that many things in her story are false. This leads Yuka to reveal the truth: she killed Shinji out of jealousy, as he had a girlfriend, and she decided to stay with him forever as a dead man. After hearing this, Nana kills Yuka with her needles. After committing the murder, Nana throws Yuka's body off the cliff and, while walking home, realizes that the corpses controlled by Yuka are scattered all over the island. The problem arises as to how to dispose of them without arousing suspicion, since whenever he is with someone, that person disappears. Also, having skipped school the day before, he might have aroused suspicion among his classmates, especially Kayouya. At that moment, she meets one of her classmates, Habu, who is holding a snake. Habu explains to Nana that her power consists of turning her bodily fluids into poison with the help of these animals. Nana, looking for information, asks Habu about her friend Kaori, as it is strange not to see them together. Habu tells her that she had a strong argument with Kaori by message, as she accidentally took her contact lenses without meaning to. Taking advantage of the situation, Nana tricks Habu into thinking that Kaori is behind her. When Habu turns around, Nana stabs her with one of her poison needles. Later, she tells Habu that if she gives her the password to her phone, she will give her the antidote to the poison, although this is just a lie. Thus, Nana carries out another murder. Later, Nana secretly infiltrates Kaori's room and leaves the contact lens case. She makes sure to close one of the windows to prevent the wind from blowing them away. Upon her arrival at the academy, Kayouya interrogates her about her absence the day before and informs her that he searched for Yuka and Shinji in their rooms, to no avail. In tears, Nana confesses that they are dead and that it is her fault. At that moment, she requests the company of Kayouya, Seiya, Mikairu, and Maguo, taking them to the cliff. Once there, Nana begins to weave a fictional story. They explain that Yuka was the real necromancer and detail how she killed Shinji. She also tells how, upon discovering her, Yuka tried to assassinate her. After a supposed conversation with Yuka, in which she shared what she heard Shinji say thanks to her power, Nana claims that Yuka committed suicide to join him in heaven. She convinces the others of this version of events and asks Maguo to burn Shinji's body, as well as the other corpses on the island, including Habu. With this ruse, he manages to eliminate any evidence without arousing suspicion. Later, everyone returns to the rooms. Nana tells the boys that Yuka was being mind-controlled by the enemies of humanity, whom she heard in the forest. At this point, Kayouya begins to have doubts about Nana and tells the others that it is rather strange that she is always absent when someone is killed. He also points out the suspicious coincidence that she was present when they tried to kill Mikairu and him. At that moment, a loud scream echoes from Kaori's room, prompting everyone to run to see what is going on. Upon arrival, they discover Kaori's lifeless body. Kayouya examines the body to determine the cause of death and concludes that she may have been killed in the same manner as Tsunakichi. The young woman appears to be trying to remove her eye, as if she is tearing it out. Kayouya remembers that Kaori was wearing contact lenses and decides to take some of the water from them. In doing so, Kayouya begins to writhe in pain, revealing that the lenses were poisoned. Nana opens the window to allow more air, as Kayouya was in pain. However, his immortality prevents the poison from seriously affecting him, though it causes him great discomfort. They come to the conclusion that this is a murder and that the person responsible knew Kaori well. At this point, Kayouya again becomes suspicious of Nana, suggesting that she had sufficient knowledge about Kaori and also points out her absence from class that morning. Although Mikairu defends Nana, Kayouya persists in his suspicion of her. Later, as they return to their dormitories, Kayouya mentions that he has heard that Kaori had problems with her best friend, Habu. In response, Mikairu reminds them that Habu has the power to generate poison with her saliva, and Kaoruya points out that she also skipped classes that day, making her the prime suspect in Kaori's murder. They decide to go look for Habu in her room, but do not find her there. Nana suggests the possibility that Habu may have been possessed by an enemy of humanity, just as they did with Yuka. However, Kaoruya doubts this theory. Nana insists that, upon returning from the cliff, he heard the same inner voice that controlled Yuka in the forest. Kaoruya finds it strange that he did not hear that voice when Kaori's body was found. Therefore, he concludes that the girl's killer is most likely human and not an enemy of humanity. After that, they return to investigate Kaori's room, and Kaoruya still maintains his suspicions about Nana, firmly believing her to be the murderer. He asks Nana if she had been in Kaori's room before, as when he was choking, she was able to easily open the window in a peculiar way. Nana confirms that she has, explaining that she had visited Kaori before due to Mikairu's harassment. Kaoruya suggests that, thanks to that visit, Nana knew that Kaori needed her contact lenses and used them to poison and kill her. Upon hearing this, Mikairu defends Nana, suggesting that Habu might be the killer. She finds Kaori's phone and, using the corpse's fingerprint, manages to unlock it. Mikairu shows the conversation between Habu and Kaori, where in the last message, Habu told her that she would leave the glasses in her room. It is impossible for Nana to be the killer, as the message was sent at 3 p.m., at which time Nana was with them in the forest. Kaoruya becomes convinced that Nana is the killer and waits for some classmates to arrive to explain how Nana killed Kaori, narrating her every move precisely. Nana tries to deny it, but Kaoruya has an explanation for every denial. His classmates believe Kaoruya, and the final point to prove that everything he says is true is that Nana has Kaori's phone in his pocket with which the message was sent. Nana defends herself by arguing that, even if she were the murderer, she couldn't send the message because she wouldn't know the password to Habu's phone. Kaoruya replies that she could have used her power to read his mind and discover the password. To confirm this, he checks Nana's pockets. However, to everyone's astonishment, Nana did not have Habu's phone. Nana, who had already considered the possibility of such a thing happening, decided to leave the phone next to a zombie so that when the zombie was decomposed by the sun, her finger would send the message to Kaori. In addition, Maguo burned all the bodies, including the mobile phone. In this way, Nana managed to free herself from Kaoruya's accusations. Afterwards, he apologized for accusing her of being the murderer. At this point, Nana tells them that she hears Habu's voice, which tells her that she was controlled by an enemy of humanity. She also suggests that they all work together and stop suspecting each other. With this lie, they are all back in Nana's favor and decide to inform everyone what has happened. On the other hand, Nana was outside the house, reflecting on the difficulty she will face in trying to assassinate the others, as they will be more alert. At that moment, Mikairu approaches and asks her what she is doing there. Nana explains that she is standing guard, but Mikairu suggests that she get some rest and offers to keep watch in her place. Nana decides to sleep on the spot. However, Mikairu asks her if she can really read minds. Still half asleep, Nana answers in the affirmative. Mikairu asks her why she couldn't foresee what was happening, and in that instant, Nana finds herself threatened by Mikairu, who holds a box cutter to her neck. Mikairu continues to bully Nana into revealing her true power, but Nana insists that she can read minds. Suddenly, Nana manages to hit Mikairu's hand in one swift movement, making her drop the weapon. At that moment, Mikairu realizes two things. First, that Nana has combat training, and second, that her power is not mind reading. Nana threatens to scream for help, and Mikairu warns her that if she does, she is likely to be believed instead of Nana, as Nana has been suspected of the murders while she has maintained a tender and innocent image. At that moment, two girls arrive to check if everything is alright, to which Mikairu replies in the affirmative before walking away. The next day, during class, Mikairu approaches Nana and announces in front of the whole class that he has a gift for her. However, in order to give it to her, she asks Nana to guess what is inside using her powers. Nana apologizes, arguing that she is too tired to use her powers at the moment. Mikairu suggests that it is no problem and that she will give her the gift during lunch, or even after school if she is still tired, as long as she can guess what is inside the box. During lunch, Mikairu again challenges Nana to guess what is inside the box by listening to the voice in her head, in the presence of her classmates. Nana replies that it is difficult to hear it clearly due to the number of people around and claims that the voices are intermingled. Despite this, he tries to guess and fails. Nana mentions that the only thing she could perceive inside her head was the thought "I love Nana." The other boys comment that Mikairu had a piece of paper with the same message taped to her back. It is likely that the voice Nana heard belonged to one of them, as they kept thinking about the paper. This leads everyone back to believing that Nana really can read minds, even though it was actually her who stuck the paper on Mikairu's back. Later, at the cliff, Nana confronts Mikairu about her identity, as she discovers that the current Mikairu is not the real Mikairu, evidenced by a wound on her hand that the real Mikairu had already healed with her power. In addition, Nana notices that he calls her in a different way than he used to call Mikairu. She concludes that the person in front of her must have the power to change appearance. The truth is revealed when the individual shows himself as Jin, a former student of the academy, confirming that he has the power to transform. Jin explains to Nana that his name no longer appears in the academy's records and proposes a deal. On the way to his hideout, Nana asks him about Mikairu. Jin reveals that Mikairu is safe and only borrowed her temporarily to impersonate her. He also finds it intriguing that despite being a serial killer, Nana wants to protect Mikairu. Later, they arrive at a hidden cave that Jin uses to hide in, and he kindly offers Nana coffee. He then confesses to her that he knows all about her murders because he has the ability to transform into animals and has been watching her, even in the form of a cat guarding Kyoya. Jin, intrigued, agrees not to tell his companions what happened in exchange for their help. Jin begins to relate how, 5 years ago, a similar situation occurred with dead classmates that generated distrust and led to a civil war on the island. The students split into factions, believing that some were being controlled by the enemies of humanity. This war culminated in the death of all, leaving Jin as the sole survivor. He explains that the zombies Yuka used in his attack were his former classmates. After escaping the island in the form of a pigeon, Jin was considered dead, and upon his return, the elite hunted him down, forcing him to remain in hiding. He proposes a deal to Nana. He will allow her to continue killing in exchange for her revealing her motives and who employs her. However, Jin suddenly falls to the ground choking, as Nana poisoned his coffee while he was distracted. Nana decides to report Jin's case to her superiors, but Kyoya takes the phone away from her, revealing that both he and Mikairu are actually Jin. He explains that, in addition to changing his appearance, he can copy abilities, making him the most powerful being. Afterwards, Jin asks Nana who she was trying to call on the phone. Nana confirms that Jin can use the powers of others, so he mentions that if she wants to know, he can transform into her and read her mind. Jin explains that it is necessary to train the powers of those she transforms before she can use them fully. While checking the phone, Nana manages to free her foot from the ice and runs away. Jin chases after her and, transformed into Maguo, attacks her with a powerful fireball, leaving her severely injured. He approaches her and mentions that he had a classmate who talked about a death counter similar to the one Nana has on her phone. He suggests that this girl might have been sent by the same organization that brought Nana to the island. Upon hearing this, Nana suggests that if he wants to get information, he assassinates her and transforms into Yuka to extract it from her corpse. Jin replies that no matter how much he tortures her, she won't talk, so he prefers to build trust between them. He then asks Nana about her family. She relates that she had a brother who left home when she was very young, and that her parents, who worked for the government, were killed by an enemy of humanity. At the end of her story, Nana collapses from her injuries. Before she loses consciousness, Jin warns her that she might not be the only killer on the island and that she should be careful. On the other hand, Nana regains consciousness in Mikairu's room, who is excited to see her wake up. Mikairu tells her that the night before, someone knocked on her door, and when she opened it, she found Nana unconscious in the hallway and took her to her room, where she healed her with her powers. After telling her this, Mikairu asks Nana if she was attacked by an enemy of humanity, to which Nana nods. Mikairu suggests that she was impersonated by an imposter the day before, as she does not remember going to class, although her classmates claim that she did attend. Nana explains that she was impersonated by someone with the power to transform into other people, and that she confronted him when she discovered him, resulting in an attack by the imposter. Mikairu praises Nana's bravery for standing up to the enemies of humanity. Nana then tells him that she is not afraid of them because her parents were killed by these beings, and she vowed to wipe them all out. Mikairu, with tears in her eyes, shows compassion for Nana's story and comforts her. Nana hesitates to eliminate Mikairu, as she seems to be too good a person to be an enemy. Afterwards, Kaori's funeral is held, and Nana observes that Mikairu's health has deteriorated. This is due to the overuse of her power, which reduces her lifespan. Although Nana expresses her concern, Mikairu insists that everything is fine. Later, while Nana is in her room, Jin arrives, and during their conversation, Nana discovers that by transforming into a person, in addition to acquiring their powers, she also inherits that person's weaknesses. At that moment, Mikairu knocks on Nana's door and asks if she can come in. Immediately, Jin transforms into a cat. The reason for Mikairu's visit was to learn more about Nana's childhood. Nana tells Mikairu and the transformed cat that she used to be a normal girl who liked games and manga, and that she was quite messy. However, everything changed the night her parents died. Nana explains that the thief who killed them was able to enter her house because she forgot to close a window after going out to buy her favorite manga. By sharing this story, Nana begins to blame herself for her parents' death. Listening to her, Mikairu comforts her, generating a greater affection between the two of them. After this, Mikairu spends the night in Nana's room. In the morning, Kyoya shows up at Nana's room and asks both girls to accompany him. He takes them to the boys' dormitory, as they found the body of another dead classmate in one of the rooms. Nana is shocked to see the scene, as this time it was not her who committed the murder, indicating the presence of another killer besides her at the academy. Afterwards, Kyoya informs them that the murdered boy's name was Ryuji Ishii and details how he was killed, by slitting his throat and stabbing him in the back. He then begins to question Maguo, as Maguo's room is adjacent to the crime scene. Maguo claims that he spent the night in his room, busy giving a motivational speech to his followers, so he heard nothing. Kyoya proceeds to question Maguo's followers about their powers. Two of them have abilities considered useless. One can mimic voices and another can turn his body into a magnet. However, the blonde boy possesses a more intriguing power, the ability to perform astral travel, allowing his soul to leave his body while it remains in one place. Nana questions Kyoya about the certainty of the murder happening that night, to which he confirms having seen Ryuji at Kaori's funeral that day, indicating that he could only have been killed that night. Kyoya accuses Ryuji's girlfriend Fuko of being a suspect and demands that she reveal her power. Fuko replies that she needs to go to an open place to do so. They all head to the forest, where Fuko reveals her power to channel the force of the atmosphere to launch wind attacks. Although he doubts whether Kyoya can handle it, Kyoya accepts the test. Fuko channels a large amount of power and launches a powerful wind attack at Kyoya, who is wounded in the chest and blown away. To everyone's astonishment, Kyoya recovers thanks to his powers, and Fuko explains that he cannot use his ability properly in enclosed spaces. Nevertheless, Kyoya considers her the prime suspect and decides to investigate the case further. Later, Nana decides to return to investigate the crime scene and notices that Mikairu has been displaying peculiar behavior lately. While sharing a meal, Mikairu asks Nana about her plans for the future after defeating humanity's enemies. Nana replies that she might consider going to university. Mikairu expresses her desire to become a doctor. Nana begins to theorize about Mikairu's strange behavior, thinking that she might be worried about her future. At that point, Mikairu invites Nana to live with her and her parents after finishing the academy. However, Nana's reaction is one of fury, and she leaves after reproaching Mikairu for telling her about her parents' death just the day before. Later, Nana continues to theorize about Mikairu's behavior, increasing her distrust of her. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door, and it turns out to be the teacher coming to deliver a new uniform, requested by Mikairu because the old one had deteriorated. At that moment, Nana notices the absence of her poison jar, which was in the uniform when Mikairu was healing her. This suggests that Mikairu may have found it, thus explaining her strange behavior. Worried, Nana fears that Mikairu might reveal her secret to Kyoya. At that moment, Kyoya appears and informs Nana that Mikairu came to look for him with the intention of talking about her, but only mentioned that they had had a quarrel. Kyoya then asks Nana to accompany him to talk to Fuko. As they prepare to leave, the professor informs Kyoya and Nana that their attempts to contact the authorities have been successful, and they will be sending someone to the island soon. At this news, Nana tells herself that she must hurry to eliminate more people before the authorities arrive. Afterwards, the boys interrogate Fuko. Kyoya asks her about her actions after Kaori's funeral, and she responds by indicating that she spent the night with a friend. Kyoya continues to question her about Ryuji's habits. Fuko mentions that they had grown apart. Once the interrogation is over, Kyoya leaves, leaving Nana and Fuko alone. At this point, Fuko asks Nana to avenge her boyfriend's death. After this, Nana and Kyoya begin to formulate theories about the identity of the killer as they return to their rooms. Nana then goes to visit Mikairu, but when she arrives, Mikairu is not present. While searching for her bottle of poison, she discovers Mikairu's diary and decides to take a look at it to determine if she plans to accuse her to Kyoya. However, upon reading the diary, she realizes that Mikairu has always trusted her and has done everything possible to please her, including protecting her from Kyoya's accusations and healing her wounds. At that moment, Jin materializes behind Nana, returning her poison bottle and phone. He expresses his disappointment that she distrusts Mikairu despite how kind he has been to her. Before leaving, she suggests to Nana that, instead of reading Mikairu's belongings, she should check the shower. Urged, Nana rushes to check what is going on and discovers Mikairu unconscious in the water. Observing the situation, Nana acts quickly to help Mikairu, taking her to her bed. However, Mikairu shows signs of a serious illness, leading Nana to decide to take care of her. She seeks help from the professor in search of a doctor, but discovers that there is none available, as the professor has recently left the island. In desperation, she goes to Kyoya to ask for medicine, but he is busy examining Ryuji's body. In the absence of outside help, Nana decides to go into the cafeteria and have some soup to relieve Mikairu's cold. While trying to bring down her fever, Kyoya arrives to check on Mikairu's condition. In the process, Nana begins to notice that Kyoya is suspicious of her and fears that he may have done something to Mikairu. Afterwards, Kyoya goes to investigate the room of one of Maguo's followers. During the interrogation, the boy reveals that animal carcasses have been found near the academy, all with their throats slit. This information catches Kyoya's attention, and he finds a strange similarity between these incidents and Ryuji's murder. Later, Nana continues to care for Mikairu when Fuka arrives in the room. During the conversation, Fuka expresses his concern for Mikairu, fearing that she has been attacked by the same person who killed Ryuji. These words cause Nana to become suspicious of Fuka, thinking that he might have motive to want to harm Mikairu due to his knowledge of the murder. Mikairu finally wakes up and tells Nana that she felt sick after helping an injured cat and fainted after taking a shower. Nana, intrigued by Mikairu's strange attitudes, questions her about it. Mikairu explains that she was just feeling sick. At that moment, Mikairu notices a wound on Nana's finger and tries to heal it with her powers. This provokes Nana's anger, who scolds Mikairu for overusing her abilities and warns her about the dangers of doing so, urging her not to do it anymore so as not to put her life at risk. After this conversation, the two share a pleasant moment. On the other hand, Jin discovers some dead animals in the forest. At that moment, he realizes that the man responsible is behind him. Jin tells him that he doesn't mind the man killing the inhabitants of the island, but demands that he leave the animals alone. Upon hearing this, the man leaves. Meanwhile, Jin continues to reflect on what he saw on Nana's mobile phone and comes to the conclusion that the death counter she has, representing the future deaths of the students, is a fake and is only being used to trick her. Afterwards, the elites meet and discuss Nana's progress, considering that it was a wise decision to send her. In parallel, an individual is shown who is apparently Nana's instructor, and who will also be the officer sent to the island in response to Kyoya's call. Meanwhile, this individual meets Maguo's blonde henchman and asks him some questions about Ryuji, with the intention of finding out if he is the culprit, but gets no relevant information. Later, returning to Mikairu's room, the girls are seen sharing a meal. However, Nana decides not to waste any more time and plans to head out to assassinate Fuka, as she considers him an easy target and could make his death look like a suicide. As she is about to leave, Mikairu stops her and asks her to play a little together. As they play, Nana asks Mikairu questions about a person she found in her diary, claiming she heard about her using her powers. Mikairu proceeds to tell her part of her life before coming to the academy, recounting how she was bullied because of her powers. One day, after helping an injured dog, she met a girl named Hitomi, the dog's owner, who encouraged her and became her close friend. Hitomi defended her from bullies and together they shared special moments, prompting Mikairu to help others. Later, Mikairu recounts how Hitomi developed cancer and, despite her illness, continued to attend classes to spend time with her. Hitomi eventually passed away, and since then, Mikairu has been committed to helping those in need, even though it affects her time in life. Upon hearing this story, Nana simply leaves the room, leaving Mikairu perplexed. On the outside, Nana finds it hard to believe that someone with Mikairu's history has such a high death counter in her future. Nana then retreats to her room and begins to reflect on her past, recalling how she was mistreated after her parents' death, and how she was constantly blamed for their passing. In the midst of her thoughts, Mikairu enters her room and reveals that she lied to him about talking to Kyoya, confessing that she actually wanted to talk to him about Nana, but decided not to. Mikairu then asks Nana to reflect further on the moment her parents were killed. During the conversation, Mikairu highlights some inconsistencies in the story of Nana's parents' death, concluding that it is unlikely to be Nana's fault. Despite this, Nana continues to blame herself, and Mikairu scolds her for it. She explains that it is common for children to blame themselves for tragic events in their childhood and begs Nana to stop doing so while hugging her. This gesture causes Nana to feel guilty, as she had mistakenly thought that Mikairu wanted to tell on her, when in fact she was just worried about her. Mikairu asks Nana to accompany her the next day to buy things on the merchant ship. Later, the two girls are visiting various shops, and in a gesture of affection, Nana decides to buy Mikairu a gift. At this point, Kyoya joins them and shares that he has a possible new suspect he would like to interrogate, requesting Nana's help. However, Nana points out that they need evidence before proceeding with the interrogation. Kyoya insists on the urgency of the situation, as he believes the killer may strike again soon. Later, on her way back from shopping, Nana gives Mikairu the gift she bought for her, and in a reciprocal gesture, Mikairu also gives her a gift. During this moment, Nana takes the opportunity to apologize for having inconvenienced her earlier. Mikairu assures her that it is not a problem and expresses her hope that they will soon succeed in defeating the enemies of humanity so that they can live together. Afterwards, Kyoya examines Fuka's room and discovers bloodstained sportswear, considering that this could be the evidence needed to interrogate her. Later, in her room, Nana is reflecting on Mikairu when suddenly Jin knocks on her window. Grateful for what Mikairu did for the cat, Jin shares with Nana that he saw her walking alone in the forest, then transformed into Maguo to ask her where she was going. Mikairu replied that she had been asked to go to the hut on the beach to have a secret conversation. Trying to find out who had made this request, Jin discovered that Mikairu evaded the question and continued on her way. Hearing this, Nana rushes to find Mikairu, fearing that she is being influenced by Ryuji's killer. She also considers seeking Kyoya's help. At that moment, Mikairu is attacked by someone who seems to be invisible. The attacker reveals to her that it was he who hurt the cat she healed, and she has since decided that she will be his next victim. Later, while Nana is on her way to the beach, she receives a call that interrupts her journey. Her teacher contacts her to congratulate her on the progress of her mission, and expresses his wish that, by the time he arrives, she will have caused even more deaths. After the call, Nana reflects on her original goal of killing all the students and considers letting the assassin attack Mikairu. To her, it seems more beneficial for the students to eliminate each other in order to accomplish their mission. Later, the focus turns back to Mikairu, who tries to escape from the killer. However, she is cornered by him. Despite the situation, Mikairu shows no fear, assuring that Nana will come to her aid. The assailant begins to taunt and insult Nana, which infuriates Mikairu, leading her to defend her friend. At that, the assailant tries to stab her, and in an act of bravery, Nana steps between the assassin and Mikairu, getting stabbed. Nana then manages to take another stab, apologizing for not intervening earlier, and revealing the identity of the killer, Rentaro, Maguo's blonde henchman with the ability to perform astral travel and control objects while out of his body. Mikairu tries to heal Nana, but Nana stops him and is stabbed again. Nana whispers to Mikairu that she is preparing to flee, successfully distracting Rentaro and providing an opportunity for Mikairu to escape, although she does not want to leave Nana behind. Nana then begins to insult Mikairu, even denying her friendship, in order to ensure that Mikairu escapes. After making sure Mikairu has fled, Nana confronts Rentaro, revealing that he had set her up and criticizing him for attacking someone like Mikairu. Rentaro, enraged, decides to kill Nana, but is stopped by Kyoya, who hangs him. It is revealed that Nana had sought Kyoya's help to save Mikairu and discover the identity of the killer. The two had planned to split up. One would go to meet Mikairu and the other would search for Rentaro's body, since by using his power, Rentaro kept his body immobile. Despite her injuries, Nana is on the verge of death and sees her life flash before her eyes. She realizes that Mikairu is trying to heal her, and using all her life force, she prevents Nana from dying. However, this act ends up costing Mikairu his life. Nana, devastated, cries over her body and thus concludes the anime.